Hello everybody and welcome to our kitchen tutorial here on how to do an advanced kitchen cabinet layout. My name is Chad Barker. I'm going to guide you through this little layout here. To get started here, this is going to be our final product, what we're going for. What we have here is some stepped up and stepped down upper cabinets, pretty big kitchen. I put the backsplash on there, some countertops and whatnot, sink, all the other appliances. So you can kind of see how this thing looks when it's all done. Obviously, this is a 3D generated kitchen, but this is kind of cool because we're really able to get into the design here, and I'm going to show you some different aspects of how to do a really solid, big, high-end kitchen cabinet layout. Okay, so let's get started. Plan view here. And I'm going to erase all the cabinets. To get started here, what we're going to do is we're going to measure out our walls. As you see here, I got 201 inches and 3/4. I just put some random dimensions in here. This is not a real project, but I wanted to show you how our custom cabinet sizes will relate to this area. Now I'm going to kind of go here and I'm going to start with two different items. Number one, I'm going to draw in my plumbing. As you see right here, I just measured the pipes sticking out of the wall. So you got your drain pipes, your hot and cold water. And I'm going to measure to the first one and then to the second one from the right side wall. And I just measured those out here. This one is going to be kind of centered on the window. So what I'm going to do here is get started by putting a sink cabinet in. And one thing we want to do is look at our sink cabinets. And I'm just going to use a 2-door, 1 false front sink cabinet, pretty standard. Right now it's at 30 inches. I'm going to make that 36 inches. Most kitchen cabinet sinks need to have a 36-inch wide sink cabinet. You can use a wider cabinet or a smaller cabinet if you want, but 36 inches is the industry standard. Now, one thing to look at too, if you want, you can go with a special sink. This is a pretty big kitchen, so let's just say, for example, I wanted to go and make this sink 42 inches and put a really cool big sink in there. That's completely fine. Just make sure that you realize that if your sink cabinet gets bigger, the cabinets surrounding it will get smaller. Now in that first picture I showed you, I did not use I used a 36. Let's do a 42 here, and I'll just show you how it can change. It really just doesn't matter a lot of the time here. So let's go 113. All right, so I just centered my sink on the window. That's what you want to do. And then also go to your top view and make sure that your plumbing is inside of the sink cabinet. Okay, just needs to be within a couple of inches. It doesn't have to be directly on center of the plumbing. That's not what we want to do. Just as long as that plumbing's in there. You don't want to have the plumbing coming out right here, for example. If it came out right here, then you got to cut this cabinet open. It's going to be inside the other opening. It's just going to be a big mess. So just make sure your plumbing's inside your sink cabinet. You'll be good to go. All right, pretty easy. In the corner here, I'm going to use a base cabinet, and I'm going to use a blind corner cabinet because I have not used one. If you watched our simple cabinet tutorial, simple kitchen cabinet layout tutorial, you will notice that it is, I'm sorry, pulling out the cabinet here. There we go. You'll notice that we used a base 90. And base 90s are great because you can just toss them on the wall there and they're good to go. Now this is a blind corner base cabinet. And if you look at it from the top view, we have 2 fillers here sticking out from the face. That's an 1.5 inch thickness. Let's open it up and see what it looks like on a 3D view. Nice thing about this cabinet, one of my favorite parts about it is you can order it with a horizontal grain, or you can order it with a vertical grain. And this panel right here on the face creates a nice and flush appearance. Now notice that we have horizontal grain right there. Now if you actually look at the other side, I gave you 2 fillers for this cabinet when we were in design. All right. Now this side of the filler is actually a vertical grain. And the cool thing about that is you can just pull this filler off and just switch them around. Or flip them over. They're not attached together, so you can actually just flip it around. So if you order vertical grain, you'll have a vertical grain blank panel, which is this guy right here, vertical grain doors and drawer fronts, and then just use this side of the filler showing forward. It's the same. You just flip it over and it'll work on the face. All right, pretty cool. All right, let's see what else we got here. Anything else to talk about? Okay, so when you're doing the layout here, you're blind. When you order these things, there is a blind dimension. Now that's the blind dimension from the back wall right here to this point. As you see, it's 24 inches. Okay, your cabinet would then sit here, and then this filler right there, this guy, is flush with the door faces. As you notice here, the blank panel sits flush with the door faces. Pretty nice. All right, so from the back wall, let's see if I can get a dimension here to the face of this. This one's, if you ordered it 24 inches deep, that's 27 3/4. Remember, the face of these 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 integrated fillers is 3 3/4 of an inch deeper than the cabinet depth. So just remember that when you're doing your layout, so you don't have to eat into that filler or cut it down on site. All right, pretty neat. Okay, so moving on here. So we got a sink cabinet. Now I'm going to put the dishwasher on either side. Typically, your outlet's going to be somewhere here along the window, and you can always pipe that wire in for your dishwasher. Now, in the original layout, I put the dishwasher on this side, so let's do that again. Now, you have two different options here. Number one, I like to just leave 24 inches of space. Otherwise, you can use a base appliance case, and that is, let's just pull this thing out right here. Sorry about that. 25.5 inches wide. That's a cabinet. It's basically a cabinet that just makes a real simple opening. And what that does, the nice thing about the appliance case is it creates a square opening at the top, the bottom, and left to right. So it's basically like a cabinet that would house your dishwasher. And doing that cabinet is good in the fact that you can put your dishwasher in there and everything's nice and, perfectly, positioned. You can also just leave 24 inches of space. You're going to get another 1.5 inches, which is great. But you can do it either way. Some people like to have this cabinet in there, but others do not. What I'm going to do is leave this one in for now, just so you guys can see it. Again, if you look at it, you can do it either way. So if you want to save a little bit of money, just delete that cabinet. Now here I'm going to put a 3-drawer stack into this corner. Remember, this sticks out 3 3/4 off the face there. So what I'm going to do here is add in. There we go, nice and tight right there to the face. Now notice that the face of this integrated filler is now flush with the face of that cabinet. So let's take a look at this, what we've done so far. There we go. So this is all rendered. Now you can see that our drawer-based cabinet goes right here into this back corner. 3 inches of exposed integrated filler, another 3 inches right here as we turn the corner, and then we continue along this cabinet run. Now, you can see here, this sets back just a little bit, so this base appliance case that holds your dishwasher sets back, and there's a little bit of a gap. So if you want to create a more modern plan and gain a little bit of extra space, I'm going to delete this, and I can actually increase that base 3-drawer cabinet by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to get another 1.5 inches of storage space, and in doing so, I can keep my 24 inches. So I'm going to pull it like this and just leave it. Boom. Pretty nice. Very cool. All right, let's go back to our plan view. So that's pretty much that corner. Now let's look back on the other side here. Going over to this wall, we are going to have a cabinet hitting the wall. So what we need to do is use a filler, and I'm going to pull a filler out of here. I'm going to use a 2-piece filler. So a 2-piece filler is pretty nice because you can, let's see, I'm going to let's just use a vertical grain filler. It doesn't really matter too much. Sorry about that. Pulled out the wrong cabinet. There we go. All right, so there's a vertical grain filler. Now it comes in 2 separate pieces. It looks just like this. And basically you have this backer piece. You attach this piece to the cabinet case, and then after you install or pull the cabinets to the wall, or attach the cabinet to the wall studs, you would then put this face on by pin nailing this to the backer piece. The nice thing about that is, since you're putting this on after the cabinets are installed, you can actually scribe this to the wall. Now when I say scribe, I mean you can actually order a little wider than say you need. So for example, let's say you leave 2 inches there, and then you put a 3-inch wide piece on here. You ordered it 3 inches wide, but you really only needed 2 inches. You could then cut it down just a little bit and make it so it fits perfectly to the conforms of the wall. So your wall is not going to be perfectly, square or plumb and level. The idea is to make it so that you could actually cut this down just a little bit, sand it off, and then make it so it contours to the wall. It's called scribing. Okay. Ideally, what we're going to do is we're just going to leave it here at 2 inches, and we're just going to install it like this, and it'll look just fine. That's just the normal way of doing it. But again, you can do it any way you want. Okay, so now what we have from here to here is I have about 90 inches of space. Now let's use 3 cabinets there. I'm just going to put in 3 standard base cabinets with a 1 door and 2 drawers. Okay, I'm going to use 30 inches as my width for each one of these. Beautiful. You can do it any way you want. Oh, I pulled a 2-drawer. Yep, wrong one. Sorry, guys. Let's go and pull this one out again if I can find it. We have quite a few different options. And again, you can do anything you want here. There's really no standard. All right, so here it is. There's a real one, 30 inches, and we're going to multiply that by 3. Gives us lots of storage space, but also gives us that top drawer that's usable. It's pretty nice, and it's not going to be super costly like doing all drawers along that side. All right. So that's where we are so far on this wall. Now let's turn the corner. And we are going to go into here. Now let's do a refrigerator opening real quick. So I got a wall here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tall filler there. And what I'm going to do with a tall filler is make it so that it hits the wall, and then I'm going to do a 2-piece tall vertical filler. I'm going to make this one, let's make it 29 inches deep. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to have a oven stack right next to it. You could do anything between 26 and say 30 inches deep for your refrigerator opening is completely fine. We are not doing a built-in refrigerator here. I'm just going to leave the opening a little bit big, and we're going to use a standard refrigerator to put into the opening. Okay. Now looking at the wall elevation here, I'm going to increase that. Sorry, this should be, we're at 108 inches for the ceiling height. This is where we're going to determine how tall our cabinets are going to be. By doing the step up and step down, I'm going to do my tall cabinets real high. I'm then going to step down and do some wall cabinets over in this area, and then step back up to the tall cabinets in the corner, kind of going up and down, a little bit more like a staircase in there. So 108 inches, we're going to do 104. That's the nice thing about using these vertical grain pieces. We can go almost all the way up to 110 inches tall, which is nice. So this filler is going to be 104, not 108. We're doing 104, people. Pretty easy. Okay, wall 2-door cabinet. Again, we're doing 90 inches. 2-door cabinet right there. I'm going to do 36 inches wide. Notice that's right here, 36 inches. And then the bottom of this, the elevation. So from the top of the finished floor to the bottom of this wall cabinet, let's make that 72. Now, make sure you consult your refrigerator specs on that. The opening of the refrigerator should be a little bit higher than like the hinge. And I'm just using standard refrigerators. Think of like a GE Profile or any other refrigerator you could think of. You buy like at Home Depot, or just kind of a generic one. Now, if we get into Sub-Zeros and some of the built-in guys, then you really want to look at your specs there. Typically, those ones are going to be 36 or 48 inches wide, and they could be up to 84 inches tall, and they only require 24 inches of depth. Okay, this is just an oversized refrigerator opening to kind of house a standard refrigerator. All right. Next thing we're going to do here is enclose this refrigerator. We got our 72-inch elevation. I'm going to enclose this refrigerator by using a tall finished-in panel. If I could find it. Vertical grain tall finished-in panel. There we go. And I'm going to make the height of that 104. And it's now pulled over to the side there. And I'm going to make it 29 plus 13/16. Now, I don't make these tall end panels 29 even. I make them 29 and 13/16 because I want the face of the tall end panel to be flush with the cabinet door. Notice that? Nice and flush. And that's the nice thing about these materials. Everything's so customizable that you can really get down to these, to the bare minimums there. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is go back to this wall. We're going to do a double oven with a 1-drawer base underneath it. So let's go ahead and pull out a 1-drawer base cabinet. If I can find it, there it is. Lots of different cabinets to choose from. And again, you don't have to do anything that I'm saying here. You can always change it up a little bit. Now this is 12 inches tall from the floor to the top of the cabinet. So I'd order that cabinet 12 inches tall. If you want, let's say we want to put some pots and pans in there, let's make it 18. Heck, you can make it 18 and a half. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you think is going to work. The taller you go, the bigger the drawer box is going to be in there. The drawer box can go up to 14 inches. If you order it above, let's say at 24, the drawer box just stays at 14 inches, so you just have a lot of clearance space. Okay, here's a side view of the interior of that cabinet, and this is at 18 inches. It's pretty nice. Okay, so we got a 31, let's do a 30-inch wide piece there. You can do 30 or 36. I'm just going to use 30 in this one. Now I got a double oven, so what I'm going to do is go back and go to my tall cabinet section, and you can notice in our tall cabinet area on our website, we sell a tall appliance case with a dual top and a dual deck. Okay, again, consult your specs on your double oven. I'm just going to assume that I'm using a GE brand product, something like a GE Profile. It needs about 1 1/8 inch clearance at the top and the bottom. Now on the inside of this cabinet, I got a toe kick on it. easy enough. All we got to do is go in here and delete the toe kick. You can order all of our cabinets with or without a toe kick. It's pretty nice. Everything's custom built, so we can do pretty much anything you need. All right. Depth of this cabinet, I'm going to make it 26 inches. Now you might be thinking, why are you making it 26 inches? All the cabinets, right, they should be 24. Well, that's what they do on non-custom cabinets because it makes it a lot easier for them to build 24-inch stock sizes because you can get 2 of them out of a single sheet. Without getting too deep into it, we do everything custom, so we can fully make it whatever size you need. 26 inches is going to be better for the countertop as it runs into the side of this cabinet. A 25-inch deep countertop on a 24-inch deep cabinet case will run into a 26-inch deep finished in panel here. And then you're not going to have a little nub of countertop sticking out. That is a big pet peeve of mine. Not to say that it's, the worst thing in the world, but it's not cool. All right, so right now I got the height of 64. Let's just say that opening needed to be from the bottom to the top. It needs to be 54 inches. I want to make this cabinet 57 inches tall, and that makes the opening 54. 1.5 inches up here, 1.5 inches down here. Double decks, double tops. Okay, 57. I got 54-inch interior height. Let me see if I can draw that in for you. Cat it in, I guess. All right, 54. Okay, pretty easy. All right, same thing over here. So we got the tall finished in panel there. Now the reason we use a tall finished in panel on this refrigerator cabinet is to cover the construction holes in that wall cabinet. It's also sitting back 3 inches is this oven cabinet you got right here. All right, so now we're going to need another 2-door wall cabinet. And I'm going to make this one 9 inches less, and it just sits right on top. Don't worry about trying to align everything. It doesn't really help trying to get, for example, like just splitting hairs and saying, like, I got to get this one to be the exact same height as this. It's stepped back. It's not a big deal. You're not going to see it. It's not going to draw your eye. It's the forced perspective when you're looking at this thing. There's separation, so don't worry about that. Don't really worry about trying to get everything to be perfect. It's never going to work, and you're going to pull your hair out. Okay, moving on into the corner. Again, we're going to step these cabinets down right here, but those are kind of last. We need to put this corner cabinet in first. So let's go back to our top view. And taking a look at this corner, we can do another blind corner cabinet, or we can do a wall 90. You can do whatever you want in all these things. There's really no set standard. Okay, so I'm going to do a 1-door blind corner integrated filler on the left. I'm going to make this cabinet 15 inches deep, and I'll tell you about why we're doing that here in just 1 second. This could really be whichever width we want. Notice how I'm pulling this in and out. Again, it's got the integrated fillers on the face. It's set up right now for horizontal grain. You can order it in vertical grain if you want. No problem. All right. Bottom of these wall cabinets. This is the first wall cabinet we've ever laid out here. I'm going to make it 54 inches. Let me draw that in with the CAD here. All right, 54 inches from the top of the finished floor to the bottom of the wall cabinets. That's just our standard, people. It's pretty easy. So the idea here is to make it so that that sits at 54 inches, and any sort of under cabinet light valance or trim you put on it will just hang down below. Same thing with the countertops. Base cabinets are ordered at 34.5, and then you're going to add on a 1 to 2 inch thick countertop, and that just eats right into that space. When it's all said and done, it's somewhere around 17 to 18 inches. That's perfectly fine, and it looks good. Do not make that more. I've seen people say, like, oh, I got to make sure I maintain perfect 18 inches everywhere. It looks better if it hangs down below the 18 inches. You're not going to, it looks a lot better. If you go up higher, it's just kind of, everything becomes less accessible, and you lose storage space, okay? So don't do it. All right, going back over here. 2-door wall cabinet in between. Again, this is now the fun part because this wall cabinet can be made at any size you want. For example, let's try to make this door a little bit wider. Let's say 30 inches. It's a pretty deep cabinet. I want to make this door a little bit wider just so I can maximize it because this is 15 inches deep, this guy right here. This guy's 12 inches. And I'll show you how that looks here in a second because we're stepping up and down, in and out. I'm going to make this, say, 33. That looks good. Looks about perfect. And then I'm going to expand this wall cabinet over to eat up the area in between. Now, let's pull it back down. So what I want to do as far as the top and the bottom are concerned, I'm going to do a 6 inches. I like to stay with the 3-inch increment. You can do whatever you want, but let's just say 6 inches or so. So we know that this is at 108. We know that the bottom needs to be 54. So let's just say, I'm sorry, the top of this cabinet's at 104. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this thing the exact same height as the one beside it. I'm going to then knock off 6 inches. In this case, these were 50 inches. Now it's 44 inches tall from the top of the cabinet to the bottom. And then I'm going to change the elevation to 54 inches. I'm going to skip a step. I need to add a finished in panel right here. All right, so what I was talking about there is a wall finished in panel, vertical grain. I'm using vertical grain wall in panels, and I'm using horizontal grain faces. Yes, you can do that. It looks perfect. I'm making the wall finished in panel 15 and 13/16 deep, and I'm making it the exact same height as the wall cabinet on the side there. So it's cabinet number 51, and I'm going to expand this guy over to touch the finished in panel, and then I'm going to knock him back down to his 54-inch elevation. Now let's take a look at this piece in 3D. And you can kind of see where we're at so far. Okay, so as it's rendering here, I see 2 mistakes that I've made that I've overlooked so far. Number one, this looks good. This whole area looks perfect. I got my my wall finished in panel on the side of this blind corner cabinet. I got a 2-door wall cabinet in between. But over here, I didn't knock this thing out to 26 inches in depth. I also need to put on a finished in panel on the side of this cabinet, otherwise construction holes will be visible. So let's go back and do that real quick. Again, I'm just going to take this guy. These cabinets are custom ordered to the 1/4-inch increment. You can do whatever you want here. You've got lots of options. I'm going to take a wall finished in panel, or a tall finished in panel, sorry. I'm going to place that guy right there. And I am going to make the depth 26 and 13/16. Remember these cabinets, this tall cabinet stack right here is 26 inches deep. All right, perfect. I'm now good to go there. Knock that back down. And now my area is perfect again. Tall finished in panel here, separating this guy, tall finished in panel here, separating this guy. Technically, looking back on this, if you didn't want to use a full-on tall finished in panel, that's the depth from all the way back here, you don't need to order a full depth tall finished in panel. You might just think about ordering something like 6 inches wide at this point, just so it goes back a little bit further. And that's going to be a lot less expensive. You're not going to spend so much money for material that'll never be shown. You know what I mean? Okay. Looking good. So that one's done. We are going to now move on to the other wall over here. All right. Now, it's kind of hard to see here, but anyway, you can see the integrated filler sticking off the face of this blind corner cabinet. I am going to do one more cabinet. In fact, what we want to do here is do a wall cabinet, 1 door. Now, one thing I've noticed here is I have a 15-inch deep wall cabinet in this area. And then now I can return back to a 12. And that's completely fine if that's what you want to do. I'm not going to advise you against it. But in this case, since I want to have a smaller cabinet right here, just for smaller stuff, and I want to do a step up and step down, I need to increase the blind. The blind is this dimension right here. Top view, please. There we go. This right now is 12. I need to increase that to 15. So that when it turns the corner, I have a 15-inch dip here, and then 15-inch deep there. So let's do that real quick. I'm just going to change this dimension by adding 3 inches. Good. Now I'm going to bump this out to 15 inches in depth. That's the wall cabinet right here next to it. And also, when you're looking at this, you see adjustable shelves in here. If you order this over, I believe it's 42, we give you an extra shelf. So we automatically put shelves in there. So don't get discouraged and be like, oh, I need to order another shelf or anything like that. It doesn't. We take care of you on that type of stuff. You're getting over the amount. We automatically add those in. Okay, so this door is about 14 inches roughly wide. I'm going to make this cabinet roughly 14 inches wide, just so they're somewhat similar as far as the widths. Don't get hung up on the exact perfect dimensions. They can be off just slightly. Okay, looking good. Let's go back to our elevation view. And what I'm going to do is put another wall cabinet into here, but first thing we need is another finished in panel. I know stepping up and stepping down, you're going to have lots of finished in panels just because you got to cover those construction holes, but it creates a really nice look, really custom. Again, 15 and 13/16 in depth. Can't see the depth there. I'm going to increase the height there to 50. That gets me down to 54 inches for the elevation to the bottom of that wall finished in panel. And I'm going to make another wall cabinet right here. And Let's see how close I can get to that window. I'm going to keep it about 2.5 inches away from the window trim. Make sure you look at your window trim. If your window's just rough framed right now and you have a big window trim going in there, make sure you don't get your cabinets like right in there. Otherwise, they got to cut around your window trim, and then it just it looks like it's right in there. If you already have the window trim on there, maybe stay an inch or 2 inches back from it. Now, if you have crown molding up here, make sure that your crown molding that runs back into the wall as it dives back into the back wall there, make sure that doesn't hit the window trim. So just keep that in mind. Typically, 3 to 5 inches is what we normally recommend, staying away from the window opening. You don't have to worry about stuff like humidity and other stuff like that. These things are built to withstand that. Okay, so I'm going to knock this thing down 6 inches again, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Elevation's 54. And let's go 12 inches in depth. Again, this wall cabinet, 12 inches is our standard. No, it doesn't like that. I'm going to pull it back just another 3/4 of an inch away from the window so I can put my finished in panel in here. It's not letting me do that again, so let's just do it. There we go. So I'm going to just decrease the height there by 6, knock the elevation back down to 54 elevation, bottom of the wall finished in panel to that, and then I'm going to then increase this for the leftover dimension there, and then take the elevation back down to 54. All right, let's take a look and see what we did here in 3D. Something's off. Oh, I didn't change the depth of that in panel. All right, let's do a little quick recap here. I'm not trying to lose you. Notice how we have here. We have this finished in panel now on the side of this cabinet, another finished in panel here. We have access to this smaller cabinet as well as this one. Same thing over here. Steps up, then steps down, steps back up into the corner. Good. All right, now working onto the other side of the window here, let's just start off with doing another wall filler. Again, we have a wall sticking out in this area. We need a filler. A 2-inch wide filler is always recommended. I'm going to go and put a wall filler, two-piece vertical. That is not right. That was a millwork piece. Where is it? Lots of different options for fillers. My favorite is the 2-piece vertical filler because it works really well for this situation. If you see right here, cabinet number 39 is that filler. We know that the height for the upper cabinets, the ones that are really tall, stepped up 4 inches away from the ceiling. That 4 inches is going to give us enough room for the crown molding. So I'm going to go 15 inches and 13/16 deep. Height is 50. I'm going to then take a 2-door wall cabinet and I'm going to put it over there. And let's just make it 33 inches wide just for fun. You can make it any dimension you want. It doesn't really matter. These are nice cabinets because they're 15 inches deep, so you can have lots of storage space in there. Imagine that your standard cabinet is 12 inches deep. This is 3 inches deeper. So you got a lot of stuff you can store in there, and it also looks really nice too. So you're really adding a lot of storage and a lot of functionality or aesthetics, I guess is probably a better way of looking at it. All right, now I got my finished in panel on the side there. Wonderful. I got a lot of space over here, so I can do two things. One, I can either increase the width of this guy, which I could do. One thing I'm going to try here, just to kind of show you, is I'm going to equalize those cabinets. The one on the window. Cabinet 48 is going to be the same as 49, 54 elevation. I'm going to take cabinet number 50, I'm going to copy it, and we're going to change the hinge direction on this. So I'm going to order that with a left side hinge. And I am going to take that to 54. Beautiful. And if I wanted to, I could even do a 3-door cabinet here. Any way you want. Or you could even go, let's see, how wide would that be if I did this as a single cabinet? Way too wide. Don't do that. Okay. All right. Let's just do a 2-door wall cabinet again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to double this guy. Sorry, I'm back and forth here. 15 inches in depth. Height of this wall 2-door cabinet is 50. Wonderful. I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit so I have a little bit of room to work. Take my finished in panel here. I'm going to move that over. I am then going to take this cabinet number 48. Right now it's 16.5 roughly. I'm going to make a new 2-door wall cabinet, and I'm just going to double that 16.5. I'm just going to make it 33 inches. That way the doors are roughly the same width. I mean, you don't have to be dead on exact here, again, like I said. And then I'm going to put it at the elevation of 54. Perfect. If it gets done rendering, it's kind of slow right now, sorry. It gets slow when there's a lot of stuff going on. All right, moving that finished in panel back. And then I'm just going to split the difference with this wall 2-door cabinet. Boom. Very nice. So this door is about half the size of this one. And again, that's perfectly fine. The nice thing is you're sitting here at your sink. You got your dishwasher right there. Now you're not having to look at a 15-inch deep cabinet staring you right in the face. All right, looking good. So that's pretty much all of our base, wall, and tall cabinets, our standard stuff right there. So pretty much all of our wall cabinets, notice we're stepping up, stepping down, stepping down, stepping up, stepping down again, and then stepping up. I like to keep them into the point where I have the corners. So all points where it hits the wall. So 3 points here where it steps up. The ones in the middle are going to be stepped down just a little bit. Nice thing about this is now you have a view. So your view isn't really obstructed by these 15-inch deep cabinets, but you're able to get that extra storage space, which is really nice. Lots of storage here for all these cabinets. And then you also go into this back area. I forgot to put the cabinet right there. Let's go back and do that real quick. Ugh. Moving on, right there, 26 inches of width, which means we're just going to put a base 2-door cabinet, no problem. Boom, we're done. Okay, you can do any cabinet you want there, do a 3-door base stack, it doesn't matter. All right. So that's pretty much it for that layout. Let's do the island real quick. The island's kind of fun. Modern kitchen island. Again, what we're going to do here is go with just a standard front. We're going to put the cooktop in the island. Now, when you're doing an island, be sure to use, let's do a 2-door cooktop cabinet with no false front. Be sure to make all your cabinets there 26 inches deep. You can do 24 inches. Again, that's what the industry, when you see a lot of cabinets that are sold even online, they're going to be like, hey, everything needs to be 24. And the reason they do that is their sheets come in at 48.5, and they're able to cut them down in half. You get two runs or 2 rips of 24 inches, and they're able to save quite a bit of money. Of course, they're pretty much stocked, which is fine. With us, it doesn't really matter so much because we have such a high volume that we're able to put them all together. But 26 inches of depth gives you a little bit of extra space in these back corners for electrical and gas hookups. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's, it doesn't really matter too much. I could just block it out. Well, it's a lot easier if you have a little bit extra space, especially if you do a sink cabinet in there. It's nice to have that extra space for your faucet hookups and whatnot. Your plumber will thank you. He might buy you a beer later. Okay. Looking at this, I got my cooktop cabinet now at 36. Don't feel bad if you want to go up to 42 inches. This is a big island, 108 inches, right? It's pretty big. Now, on the sides here, we can do a standard, just 2-door base cabinet. You could do drawer cabinets there, whatever you want, doesn't really matter. Oops, the wrong way. All right, so let's make the width of this. I need to leave a little bit of room for my finished in panel, which is 3/4 of an inch thick. The depth of this is going to be 26. So I need to increase by 2.25. Perfect. Again, looking at this cabinet, notice I have 26 inches of depth. The back needs to be different on this. When you do a cabinet vision layout like these, the peninsula walls give it a finished back. It doesn't really work. You don't really need to know that. Okay, so what we do here is we're going to put a finished in panel on the side, and we'll work through this guy right here. There's lots of different ways to do islands. Again, finished in panel here, we're going to make that 26 and 13/16, so it's nice and flush on the face. Good. Next thing we're going to do is go onto the back of the island. Now you can't, and I'll show you how these in panels can work here in a minute. On the back of the island, let's just do some 2-door base cabinets. I've got 108 inches. And then what I want to do is I want to have this finished in panel come back out to support the countertop. And then I'm going to run a separate finished in panel back into the face. So I got 1.5 inches of space that I need to have clear here. So I need 105 inches. Got 1.5 inches here and 1.5 inches here. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. 105 inches of space. We're going to divide that by 3. So what is 105 divided by 3? 35 inches. Pretty easy. Again, our cabinets are custom ordered, so order them as wide or as small as you want. 2, 3. Got my nice 1.5 over here on this side, 1.5 over here on this side. Now, let's make these things, say, 12 inches deep. Nice thing about doing that is you don't want to make them too deep, otherwise your island's going to just be a monstrosity. All right. There we go. So I'm just going to copy and paste this guide. Now, most applications here, and I'll get into why we're doing it in 2 separate pieces on the front and the back. We can only make these things so wide. So you can imagine here, as far as this is concerned, we can go pretty deep, but I'm going to do it in 2 pieces to keep the price down a little bit here. If you want, you can order it one single piece all the way across the back here. That's fine, but having a seam right there in the middle is pretty common. In fact, that's the way it's done on my kitchen. It doesn't look bad at all. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. I got 12 inches. I want to do a 15-inch overhang. This is a 34.5 inch tall island. This is not a raised island. You can do a raised island, but that's not this tutorial. Okay, so let's make this, that cabinet's 12 inches plus 15, that's 27 inches deep. Wonderful. Looking at it from the top view, again, you could order another guide just like this. And I'm going to say, let's make this thing width, doesn't really matter, 15. I'll show you what I'm doing here. 12 in out, 12. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a single, this is an in panel, I'm going to order another in panel, and I'm going to basically screw it together or glue it together, whatever you want to do on site. And the reason for that is, if you look right here, I want that second in panel to come back and then just duck right back behind the face here. It doesn't need to go all the way back. In fact, let's make it a little deeper. Right now I have it at 15. Let's make it at 16. Now what that gets me is the finished in panel. I got that 15-inch overhang. You can see the finished in panel here. I got a 15-inch overhang right here from the front of this cabinet to the end of this support structure that I'm building. And then this finished in panel dies off. You don't need to really put anything in the back here. It's just a waste of material if you do. All right. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Pretty simple island, but these things look really sweet. There we go. All right, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to move this guy back over, so negative 0.75. Oh, 0. Again, done the same thing. Got my finished in panel here, and another one here. Doubled up. Beautiful. Again, you can see it. I got my 2 in panels there, and going back here. Now, I'm not saying you can't order an in panel that deep. It just depends on if we can stock them that deep. That's pretty big. But I usually recommend on a wall, or I'm sorry, on a really deep island to try to order it in 2 different pieces. So that's pretty much it for the island. I mean, that's simple. You just attach these cabinets back to back, put your cooktop in there. You got some storage here on the underhang of the island. The countertop's going to overhang this whole thing. So there's a nice support structure here. They won't need that much more support. In fact, they probably won't need any more support because you're supporting the ends. The middle is going to be laminated and being supported by just the actual stone itself. Okay. Going back to plan view. One other thing to finalize this whole deal is your spacing of your island. You might be looking at, well, how much spacing should I have? The answer for that is, at a minimum, you need 36 inches. That is a tight fit, though. Do not just go and be like, oh, I want to get 36 inches. It's still pretty tight. I recommend 48 inches. Right now we're 48 3/16. That's about right. And from here to here, 47. I'd say between 42 and 48 inches. If you wanted to get a little closer, that's fine, but definitely try to keep it at 48 whenever you can. This is a pretty big island. I mean, it's a pretty massive island, actually. So once that countertop's on, you're going to have a lot of space to put stuff in here and really make this thing work. Again, your overhang can be between 12 and 15 inches. It's completely acceptable. I made a really big overhang here. My kids like to sit there and eat breakfast in the morning, so here you'd have about enough space for probably 24. You got at least 4 people that you could sit here with 4 bar stools, you know, standard height bar stools. But yeah, keep 48 inches between the side of your island and here. That gives you enough workspace. If you're opening this oven, this dual oven, then you're going to have a lot of space to be able to walk around it. Same thing with your refrigerator. There's nothing worse than opening the refrigerator and then nobody else can get through your kitchen. But overall, this is a highly functional design. You got your sink cabinet right here, cooktop here, you got your refrigerator here, and then you got your workstation over here for double oven. A lot of countertop space here, a lot of countertop space on the island, sitting space. You know, you're going to be working pretty much primarily in this area right there. You do prep and whatnot over here. Another nice thing about this design is, if you really wanted to, you might even think about putting like a little prep sink, like even over in this area where number 69 is. Maybe like a little like prep sink that's facing this way. Either way you can do it. It's up to you. A little prep sink for like vegetable peeling and whatnot. Put a garbage disposal on it. I've always wanted one of those. I don't have one myself, but I thought it'd be kind of cool. So that's pretty much it. Let's go back and look at our finished design real quick, if you'd like. I know this video's 40 minutes long. I don't know where all that time goes. Sorry about that, people. I'm just going to give you a real quick deal here. So looking back on it, we got all of our base cabinets. Opening is 24 inches for your dishwasher. We got a double oven cabinet above a drawer cabinet. Oh, I think I ordered that drawer cabinet at 24. Just knocked that out to 26. Over here, 29-inch deep wall cabinet above a refrigerator opening. Again, this is not a built-in one. This is just a generic opening for a GE-style refrigerator. You know, Frigidaire's the generic ones. Tall cabinets right here. We stepped them up. Wall cabinets that are stepped up. There's a 6-inch difference between this cabinet and then this guy right here. And then there's 3 inches difference in depth as far as front to back. I did 15 inches on these uppers. I did 12 inches here. Same here, 12 inches, 15 inches. Remember to order finished in panels. As you can see here, I did vertical grain, finished in panels, and then horizontal grain fronts. It's completely fine. Looks great. It's exactly how I do it in my own kitchen. Looking at this, what else do we need to talk about? Millwork. So if you're going to do crown molding up on top, like I did in that sample picture, I did a 4-inch tall crown molding that ran into the ceiling. Okay, it's on the upper ones. 4 inches tall here, 4 inches tall here. On the lower cabinets, on these guys right here, the ones that are stepped down, I did a 3-inch tall. I'm trying to create a little bit of a forced perspective. They do it at Disneyland, where they try to make the upper one, the upper piece is like a little different size so that it makes it look like it's much bigger than it actually is. 4 inches tall on the top of these wall cabinets, 3 inches down here. You could even go 2 inches if you wanted to. That's completely fine. The idea is just to make it everything bigger as it gets taller. It makes the kitchen just feel, it feels different, kind of feels cool. So talking about the island again, we just did a cooktop right here on the island. Some storage cabinets to the left and the right of that. Storage cabinets back here for holiday stuff like Thanksgiving platters and whatnot, decorations, whatever you want to put down there. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, everybody. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We're always available. My email address is chad@barkermodern.com. My name's Chad Barker, and I appreciate your time and your patience. Thank you. Have a good day.